and welcome to Chain Reactions, a weekly live stream from XYZ, the leading global marketing network, and hosted by yours truly, Blake, and my co-host, Polina. Tune in each week as we jam on the latest happenings in the wild and wonderful world of Web3. We're live on unlonely.app every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, and release the pod every following week on Tuesdays. Now, let's talk Chain Reactions.
And I think we're good. We can start there. Let's get into it. All right. You guys feel good? Ready to get the show on the road? Welcome, everyone. And welcome to Chain Reactions. This is the weekly live stream and podcast from XYZ. And yours truly, Blake, and my co-host, Polina. How you doing, Polina?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. And this is our time where we talk to leading founders, marketers, and overall awesome people in the space of crypto, blockchain, and emerging tech. And really excited to have two awesome homies, friends, and overall great investors as well over at Nozomi. So we have Louis and Jinelle, who are building something really interesting with Nozomi. I think the simplest tagline might be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but open source YC for crypto founders, maybe. But with that being said, I'm going to throw it over to Louis and Jinelle to kind of introduce themselves and let the world know who they are, what they're up to, and then let's dive into it. Really excited to talk all about fundraising, investing, state of the crypto markets, and all the crazy things happening right now as this industry continues to evolve. So over to you guys. Tell us about yourselves. Yeah. And how you doing? Good morning.
Well,
good afternoon.
wrapped it with all the buttons that are undone on your shirt. They're like, are we going for 3 buttons?
What do we? I only have a couple here. I can go more.
Every 10 minutes.
We need the views, Blake. We need the views.
Yeah, more views, more buttons go down. That's how it goes.
Yeah, love it. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm one of the co-chefs at Nozomi. LDR, pretty much hit it on the head. Open source YC for Web3. Another tagline, essentially just super simply, we just want to be the home of Web3 founders at any stage, whether they're pre-seed, seed, whether you're bootstrapping or you're a $1 billion unicorn ecosystem, which we also work with as well. But yeah, that's essentially the tagline of Nozomi.
What's your story, Louis? How did you get into Web3 generally? Where it all started?
I think Jinelle might slap me because every single intro call I just spend like way too like a third of the call. I'll try and keep it bare minimum. Yeah, I'll try and speed run it. But TLDR, dropped out of uni. I was super early into like Facebook ads, like 2009, 10, 11 kind of thing. So which meant I got that whole wave of affiliate marketing, digital marketing kind of stuff before any of like it was a wild west pretty much. So I got to see how these new types of industries formed right at the start when there was no regulation, no rules, and you're just kind of figuring out on your own. TLDR over the next like 5 years, this is like the space when like all the Fortune 500 started figuring out what the hell is digital marketing, all these startups are using it. Adidas was one of the first like big companies that are like, hey, we're going to go straight into this. And having spent like 4 or 5 years spending a shit ton of money on Facebook ads, working with startups, scale ups, building my own digital marketing companies, I was that young kid that got to work with massive companies building out their whole global strategy for it. So did that for a while. At the same time as well, this kind of base intro to crypto, but guys like Peter Diamandis, Ray Kurzweil kept talking about AGI 2029, and those guys are trying to get into the digital marketing content space. Lo and behold, I was super lucky enough to be in those masterminds as well because they were trying to get into the digital space. So in my head, I was always kind of thinking, hey, we're in the most technologically advanced time in human history, yet suicide rates are up, fulfillment is down. There's already a misalignment between technological advancement and human progress. So they just kept spouting 2029, AGI. I was kind of in doomsday mode of like, well, there's no point me being in this space anymore, being in the business world. I had one of those midlife crises at like 25 or whatever age I was. Pretty much dropped everything, traveled around for a fair few years. And then long story short, decentralized tech actually kind of saved me out of that rut. purely because in a world of like infinite AI where you don't know what's real and what's not real, you need things like proof of humanhood, proof of provenance and everything like that. And that was my actual entry into crypto. I actually knew a ton of the early investors, angels of Immutable. They pretty much pitched me saying, hey, before you do anything in crypto, they need some help. They have a ton of like 25-year-old founders that came through the bull market and now it's bare shit. They don't understand the fundamentals. So can you go work there, build out a ton of playbooks, work with a ton of the founders, DMOs and all that kind of stuff and upskill them. So I did that for a year, did a fair few things after that. And then that was essentially the birth of Nozomi after that.
Awesome. What a ride.
It was
Jinelle,
definitely a ride.
What
It's a
about
journey.
you?
Yeah, Jinelle, we'd love to hear from you as well. Yeah, hit us.
Actually not a very similar story. When I started working first, I was at the PRs on the PR side. So I was working at the IPG group, and then I had brands like Porsche, Revlon, Gillette, Oral-B, and they were using TV ads and they were using newspaper at the time, like print journalism. And I was like, print is dead. Like, what are you guys doing? And so I was on the lookout for what was happening next, like what industry was going to be booming. And that's how I stumbled across this e-commerce platform that hadn't even like launched properly in India. It was called Nykaa. And this was before like Amazon and Flipkart and all of these giants came to India. I'm Indian, by the way. And so I joined that team and everyone was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, how are you going to sell lipstick online? Because like people need to like try the swatches and like everyone has a different complexion. And I was like, I don't know, I'll figure it out. So I joined them and then it was a wild ride because in 2020 they IPO'd. But even before then, I had moved to Singapore in 2017. Around the time my husband used to play poker and he was very because we were back in India then, he was like trying to figure out the rules of like paying not in fiat because it was illegal to play online then. So he was paying in Bitcoin, and I was like, "What are you doing? Like, you're doing some illegal shit on the side." So that's
the
how
classic illegal activities leading to crypto.
Yeah.
You're the reason we've got a bad name.
Yeah, I was like, I don't understand anything. Like, I don't know what you're doing. And then that's how I got into like investing in Bitcoin first. And then in 2020, when COVID happened, I just like pulled all my money out of stocks and everything when it was at like all-time high. And then I got lucky because I put everything into Bitcoin, and that was And then I started from there. So I started investing first, and I was like, okay, so this is very similar to the Nykaa story. I need to figure out the next boom. So there was like AI at the time, ML, crypto. I don't understand anything about AI or ML because I don't have that background, but I knew a lot about crypto because I was investing anyway. So that's how I got into crypto. So yeah, that was my journey.
Nice. And how did yours converge that you end up co-founding Nozomi?
Yeah. So I was at Immutable when Louis joined also, and that's how we connected.
Okay, so you were helping all the 25-year-olds actually have a plan. And then you're like, okay, we have to go beyond Immutable.
Yeah.
This is a problem.
Met Jinelle. Yeah, no, met Jinelle, met a ton of other killer people there. And yeah, after I left Immutable, we kept in touch for a fair few years.
Yeah, and then let's get into Nozomi then, right? Because I think it's such an interesting model. It's I know Louis, you and I have shared quite a bit about it because I think there's a lot of commonality and parallels between I think what you guys are building and what we've done here at Myosin. But curious, tell us that origin story, right? Like, where was that insight where you guys were like, this is the thing that we should be building. This is the problem we're solving, and this is why we should be excited. So, how did that come about? And then, what does it actually look like? I guess when we say open source YC, what does that actually mean to people more practically? Yeah.
Obviously, outside of the crypto space, I heard a ton of it's full of scams and all of this kind of stuff. People launch projects and then all of a sudden 2 months later it gets to a bill and then absolutely wrong. So I always had what the hell is going on here, right? And then obviously working at Immutable, you had a ton of exceptionally talented people. They were onboarding dozens of different new projects every single week. It seemed kind of like. So I got to see firsthand about so many different projects from different backgrounds getting absolutely killed in the market, not because of, hey, they're trying to rug people. It's just, holy shit, building in Web3 is hard. And the analogy I kind of use with Jinelle is like, in Web2, to go from like zero to bootstrapping to MVP to product market fit to getting users to fundraising to IPOing, that's like a 10-year journey, right? So you only get into the public markets after you've raised like 20, 50, 100 mil. You've got a established business model. You've got the product absolutely dialed in. You're using 17 different acquisition channels and it's all your 300-person team, right? And then after that, you IPO, right? After you get a perfect product. In Web3, it's the complete opposite, right? You're IPOing literally within a few months. Your community is on your back. You don't have a product. I mean, if we look at Ethereum doesn't even work yet. You need L2s, you need roll-ups for it to work. And that's fine, right? That's the whole point of decentralized tech. Instead of you doing 10 funding rounds privately and then IPOing where retailer exit liquidity, it's like, hey, everyone gets access to be a VC now. With that, that means the product's not ready, right? Which is a ton of other risks, right? So day one, as a founder, you can't just be the tech guy. You need to know how to move in private markets, public markets. It's not about building your own tech anymore. Otherwise, Vitalik could have just built Ethereum by himself. It's like, I need to build something, but then 99% of the development is going to be people from outside of the core team. So how do I get people to actually believe in the mission, have incentives for people to build on top of it? How do I get believers to start shouting from the rooftops about it? How do I get people buying their token? And it kind of, I think we'll probably go into it, but that's why we've kind of developed something at Nozomi, which we'll release at some point. It's called like the ECAI funnel and power citizen framework. Because
what's that?
Sorry?
What is that?
So
there's some alpha.
What is that?
It's just like, what is it?
I mean, in Web2, it's super simple, right? You have a sick product and it's product-led growth. But as I kind of said, even the best products, Ethereum, it's not finished. You can't do product-led growth. So we call it ecosystem-led growth. So think about, instead of you trying to get users, you need to get citizens in your ecosystem. So the perfect kind of model was like Bitcoin, no core team, no nothing, yet the ecosystem took care of itself. Why? Because it attracted people like Michael Saylor, who would be a perfect power citizen. He's someone that invests in your project. So I'll actually break it down into, it's called ECAI. So engagers, contributors, ambassadors, and investors, right? In any society or any ecosystem, you need to at the same time get all four of them. So engagers, obviously Michael Saylor, he'll yap about you like nobody's business, right? So that's one column. He's awesome at that. Contributing, right? He builds a fund just so people can invest. So a shit ton of contributing, right? And then ambassador, he will go on every single podcast and spout the same thing over and over again, and he'll recruit more and people on it. And then same thing from the investment point of view, buys a ton of it. So as an ecosystem, whether you're an L1, L2, or even a product and stuff like that, you still can't just like rely on product-led growth. It's like, wait, funnels still exist in Web3, but now all of a sudden you need to go after 4 different stakeholders at the exact same time. So which is why if you just get users, that doesn't mean your token price is going to go up, and vice versa. If your token price goes down, there's so many things you have to kind of juggle. So that's essentially the genesis of Nozomi. It's building in Web3 is bloody hard, and you have to do all of this kind of stuff in one go. Most founders aren't equipped for it. The playbook still hasn't been written. There will be a playbook in like 5 years, but we're kind of discovering it right now. And that's essentially why Nozomi was born. Essentially, Blake, you mentioned exactly how. So we provide founders with 3 things: resources. So just like YC had their YC library, where it's like, how do I do fundraising? How do I do positioning? How do I do that? Me, Jinelle, and a few other people that we've crowdsourced with, building that with a fair few L1s. So founders never have an excuse of like, crap, I've got no resources. It's all open source, all free. That's one part. And then second is funding. Just because of our background, we know most of the L1s and most of the VCs that everyone kind of knows about. So whenever we find a fundable project, we just link them up. And then because of our partnership with Legion as well, we can do compliant ICO raises, and then network. We know most of the partners like market makers and exchanges. Even after you do a raise, founders generally get screwed over by predatory terms unless they know how to negotiate. So we give them the network there plus negotiating tactics. I know I just spent a good 5 minutes on that, so I'm going to shut up for a bit and leave it up to Jinelle.
I mean, I don't really have much to add except that I was so fed up. I don't know about Louis. I'm sure he was, but I was so fed up with like, whoa, what happened to the?
I think just
He's fine.
keep going.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry. Sorry, guys. I was having some mic issues, so I had to just leave and come back. We're good. Back to you, Jinelle.
Yeah, I was really fed up with people rugging in the space and like the scammers, and like you couldn't identify if a project was actually as in like if the founders were actually had integrity and if they wanted to build, but then even if they wanted to build, you don't have the resources, you don't have like any scaffolding, you don't have nothing, right? And then you're left on your own to go figure it out yourself. And I was really fed up of that because like even with the resources, like at Immutable, at Animoca, no one was able to build. So it's like something's wrong. Like someone needs to fix this, and then it's such a big problem. How do you start fixing it? And then that's how Louis and I used to connect, as in like just like talk outside of work. Like this is an issue, no one's fixing it. Someone needs to do something. Why don't we do something?
And that's how it all came together.
But then it all comes down to also the quality of the network itself, right? So the process of getting into Nozomi must be really rigorous if you have all of these resources and you need to kind of keep the bad players out who just want to leech on the resources and the network. What's the screening process like? Because this, as a founder, this sounds like an amazing pathway to actually building something that has a chance long term.
I feel like because of our, not only backgrounds but just like I don't know, ethos. Both of us are very morally inclined or aligned, and so like we genuinely want to help people. There is no selfish reason. So like with the open source hub, the founder hub, if you don't have as in founders have no reason now to say I don't have the resources. Like everything's free, go do it yourself. And then even like with the advisory clients or with like people that we do the legion raises with, where we put our own money in, and because then it's our reputation on the line, right? So I feel like that's how we vet who we want to work with. Will I build with this project publicly? And if not, then that's our stream.
Yeah, I think very similar there. It's because we have a few things that we offer. There's some parts where we just don't have to screen, right? It's like, hey, here's all the resources. If we're going to take someone on as a client or they're doing a legion raise, they would have probably already gone through it, right? So in terms of, hey, these are the resources, literally, if you're going to use it for unethical reasons, people are going to do that, right? It's like fiat. It's like, you can't do anything there. It's like, well, it's open source for a reason.
It's out there.
Permissionless for a reason. So that knowledge should never be, like, that's one of our ethoses, right? It's like, knowledge should not be gate kept. So for me, like, we're never going to sell a course kind of thing. It's just like, all power to anyone that does do it, all good. Just for our business model, it's just like, no, that's not what we want to do. And then obviously from an advisory client point of view, it's kind of very self-selecting because of the partnership with like Legion. The only projects we would work with are like, hey, are you super community aligned? Are you like, if your last private round was like 50 mil, are you doing a community raise of 300 mil? It's like, okay, now we're not going to take you on as an advisory client or a Legion like kind of thing. So because of like the way we kind of do the business model in terms of most of our advisory clients will essentially become Legion clients or Legion clients will become advisory clients. We kind of take the lens of like, hey, are you actually building a proper ecosystem where you're looking at, like I said, the power citizens, or is it just like, sweet, we'll just raise from the community and then, do a Yap campaign and do nothing else with it? Or it's kind of very holistic in that approach.
Right. And I'd love to drill down a bit deeper now because, you brought up Legion, you brought up raising some alpha. We're going to have Legion on next week to continue that conversation. So I don't want to go too deep into their mechanics, but especially for you guys as you're supporting founders. And I very much agree with that ethos of like, well, I guess in my experience, here's the interesting thing is like, I feel like so often I think people want to kind of like gatekeep information and like playbooks. Number one, I don't think there are very many playbooks. Like there's frameworks, but like everything's changing every month. So a playbook from 2 months ago may not be relevant even a week later or 2 months later, right? So that makes a lot of sense. But I am curious, as you guys are working with founders and you're giving them these playbooks, have you seen any kind of interesting trends of who are the people that are able to actually kind of take it and run with it? Because there's one thing there's a difference between, I guess, you give someone, the build a company 101 or how to market a company 101, and I'm actually executing on it and doing it and building it and making it successful. So yeah, I guess the main question there is, who are the most successful types of founders that you're seeing that are able to actually implement it? And I think there's a bigger conversation around, as you're looking at this space, kind of like your overall viewpoint or thesis on, what are people looking at today? But that's like, I have a lot of questions if it wasn't clear, but let's start there. Let's start with the founders, I guess.
I guess the first one, it all comes down to character. It's never a skill set issue.
Yeah.
So even when like you're doing like VC, DD and stuff like that, like one of the big parts is just jumping on a call with them and just having a conversation. You'll find out very, very quickly. Probably within like the first minute. Yes, exactly what you said, right? Frameworks are there, playbooks are there. And for some reason, if you go into a classroom, it's like 80-20 kind of thing. You go into a classroom, you give the same information to the same people at the same level, 80% will just do nothing with it. And that in itself is a really good mechanic for us. Like as we're going through DD and stuff like that, we just, hey, you got to fix your positioning statement here. Just go through this framework. For some reason, like a few of them, we'll just get it done in 15 minutes. The other one will take 2 weeks, and it's like, sweet, that's all the information we need. We don't even care about the answers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess it's less about the actual playbook itself and like how people use it. It's all about the character of the person, and that's something we just can't teach. Maybe one day, but at that stage, self-selecting.
At some point, you can lead a horse to water, but if the horse doesn't want to drink, that's on them, Yeah.
True. And what are the most common, you would say, mistakes, that you've seen when founders are pitching? Because everyone wants to raise and it's brutal out there. So you must have seen a lot of pitch decks and heard a lot of pitches. And for sure, there are things that you find yourself saying over and over again. What are these mistakes that you're seeing most often?
Do you want to go first, Jinelle, or do you want me to?
No, have a day.
All right, cool. Finally, so one thing we always stress, it doesn't matter if it's Web3 and Web2, there's obviously a ton of nuances, but you never graduate the fundamentals. Like 80% don't know their problem statement. Like,
the bar is so low.
The bar is so the same for Web2. It's like, wait, so what's the problem you're solving? Right? Yeah. And you said fundraising is brutal. It actually isn't. Like maybe for Web3 standards in a bull, like in a bull market, you can have a twig and a card and people will just give you money. So maybe not that standard. So it's not as easy as that. But right now, there is no issue as long as you can communicate what you have. So people try to overcomplicate it. The VCs have a job, right? Their job is to deploy capital. They have mandates. Unless you're a prop capital firm, you have to deploy. Which means, because I get a lot of founders say, oh, hey, how do we reach these like VCs? I'm like, they have an email. Their literal job is for their analysts every single day to look at decks. I guarantee you, if you have emailed them, they've looked at it and they're just ghosting you. So your issue is three things. For any pitch, it's one, if if you don't care about the problem statement, you're not even going to look at line 2, right? So it's like, what's the problem? Cool. Second, is the solution you have different? Is it unique? Third, so if you go into an investor's mindset or anyone's mindset, it's like, sweet, that's a super cool problem. You guys have a super unique solution. The third part is, do I trust you to execute? If you answer those three things, I don't care if you have a pitch deck or write it in a Google Doc or a Notion doc in a paragraph, you'll get a meeting if you can clearly articulate it. So ironically, as harsh as it sounds, for founders, their pitch sucks. They either they know the problem, they're not articulating it, but if you hit those three things and you send an email with those 3 lines super clearly, you'll get a meeting, whether it's A16. Like we've had founders just cold email A16Z without a pitch deck with those 3 lines and they get meeting.
That's all it takes. Maybe that's the new pitch deck. Just like that should be a template. It's just yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that, right? Because it comes down to just taking a step back as a founder, because obviously it's always chaos. Literally, a VC's business model is to deploy capital. Their product market fit is meeting you. So the fact that they're not meeting you is you've got a communication problem somewhere, or you're just building wrong. But yeah,
skill issue. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? Sorry, I'm just like kind of contemplating out loud as we go through this conversation, because it's funny as someone who has been in kind of like on both sides of the table, from like the founder side, when I was at Venture Studios, is kind of taking the other hat, and now back in the founder seat again. It's like, it sounds so simple, but I will say, like, that is kind of, as you're talking about it, it's that 80-20. It's like, it's easy to say, but then when you actually sit down to do it, like, there are people who even do that exercise, and you look like, but that's not a hard enough problem, right? Or that's a solution, but like, that's your solution, but is it the right solution? Because there's 50 billion others of these. Like, why are you the ones to pull it off?
You get so deep in the weeds of your own ideas that you can't look at it with fresh eyes, and that's where ChatGPT comes in and helps you to workshop it.
One caveat I do like, because obviously we see so many decks and so many founders. I keep catching myself. I can get like very blunt sometimes.
No, but it's great. Also, people need to hear that.
Right? But I always kind of catch myself in terms of like, most of these guys, like, they've taken 2 years off. They've like, like, you know what I mean? So I always
it's not their full-time gig. They're just like, what? Like, yeah.
That, or you know what? Some of them have, it is their full-time gig. They've sacrificed like 2 years. Like, they don't see their wife or kids. And I'm like, shit. So like, I always do try to balance of like, because that's something we're trying to do more and more of. And it's obviously not scalable, but at least giving feedback.
Yeah.
Because obviously mostly you just get ghosted. So that's something we try to do with a lot of the L1s that send us deals and stuff like that. It's like, okay, it's a no. However, here's actually something practical you can go back with. Here's some feedback. I think that as an industry from a VC side, I think that's what VCs can at least do for the industry.
Have you guys thought about, and kind of not pivoting the conversation, but kind of zooming out a little bit for a second. As you think about open sourcing these, you know, I guess we talked about marketing playbooks, but I think even from like the advisor point of view, I guess I'm thinking about like, how do you scale yourselves? And it's like, have you guys thought about just dropping all this knowledge into an LLM and creating like an AI Nozomi advisor, at least, so you don't have to repeat yourself 50 billion times? Because I think, again, it's kind of like, you can give someone a playbook or PDF, but I think that is the interesting potential for AI. I think is it's that form factor of like, as if you're actually talking to a person, to be able to extract and get those insights, rather than be like, sit down and try and fill out a piece of paper. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I need to go talk to Louis, right? Or Jinelle, or, you know, curious if you guys have thought about that at all.
I'll give that to you, Jinelle, then I'll answer.
Yeah, funnily enough, what we've planned, at least in the roadmap, is for the 100 task playbook to then be given to every founder possible, and then to ecosystems as well. And then hopefully we'll work with an ecosystem to figure out how to, how do I put this? Refine it. Because what will happen is so even when Louis is explaining stuff, right? Like in the playbooks, for example, what we now need, we have a page for, say, it's your problem statement. You have like a page, you have a task, go do it yourself. But then what's missing is the context. And then, so we need like Louis to go in, or someone to go in and like have like a video explainer over there that says, okay, this is how you apply it. And like, even like just delivering the content is enough. You need to have like that context. And so like when you have an LLM, then you need it to understand the context, but then also it needs to be able to deliver that in a way to the person that's accurate. And so like, that's what we're trying to figure out right now. But
I think Blake, I don't know how much alpha you have about what you guys are doing. So I want to spill anything.
Well, I think it's very relevant to what we're cooking up, which is connected. But
But a core thing, I've been thinking about this for a while. But obviously, humanity, we're moving from a 10,000 person unicorn to a 1,000 person unicorn to a 1 person unicorn. We're going from mass consumers to mass creators, right? So very soon, that's just autonomous protocols. So even Vitalik, whether it's an L1 and stuff like that, the goal isn't to build another centralized company, right? You've got smart contracts, you've got incentives and all of treasury kind of stuff. So even Vitalik's, his number one goal wasn't to be, hey, I'm the CEO of Ethereum. It's like, how the hell do I detach myself as much as possible and let the ecosystem run? So we've got smart contracts and crypto for that. Awesome. Now all these smart contracts, AI agents and stuff like that within it, with deterministic rules, can hold like billions of dollars. Awesome. But now we just need the rails for those companies to be built from zero to autonomous protocol. So that's something we're thinking about super deeply. So once we do the playbooks, we want that to be the bedrock, but fine tuning is the biggest part. So that's like one of the goals of open sourcing it. So essentially, once we have the playbooks, we work with the L1s, 100 founders go through it, 1,000 founders go through it. That's essentially fine tuning the model. So essentially, we're just doing the raw fine tuning with it. That's essentially the manual stuff Jinelle and me are kind of figuring out over the next year.
I love it.
So then whenever that agent is released, fine tuned with as many answers as possible.
Yeah, it's so funny. Even as we're having this conversation in public, I'm realizing this definitely. I think there's a lot of opportunity, is what I would say, considering some of the stuff we're cooking up with some of our clients and the products we're building. It's the way we can collaborate is clear and clear. And you'll hear more about that in the next couple months. But for now, zooming back out, I would love to talk about ecosystems and in general, I guess, and what you're seeing because I think it makes so much sense because, as we all know, like there's a lot of blockchains, there's a lot of L2s, there's everyone trying to build their ecosystems and cultivate founders, but it's such a hard thing to do, right? Because anyone can just say, I want to be a consumer crypto chain, I want to be the DeFi chain, but then it's the hard thing is like, how do you attract the founders? And then as we've talked about, it's like just getting quality founders is hard in itself. But I guess my question is more around, as you're working with these different ecosystems, what are the trends you're seeing? What makes you excited, maybe? Because there are so many different types of ecosystem teams. Even in my own experience, I'm sure you guys have dealt with it yourselves. I think what people who haven't been on that side may not realize is there's such a big difference and I'm curious to get your guys' take, but there's such a big difference between this blockchain looks really sexy and it's really great on Twitter or whatever, but then you actually interact with sometimes the eco teams and you're just like, this is how this operates on the back ends. And they're like, they may not be giving the support to the founders that the founders need. What's on the other hand, sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Like there's such there's many different flavors of it, I guess. Yeah. But curious what gets you guys excited, what you're seeing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've seen the whole spectrum, which is another reason why Jinelle wanted to do Nozomi as well. It sounds simple enough, but if you're building a competing L1 against Ethereum, the assumption is, hey, Ethereum can't do X, Y, and Z. That's why we've built this L1, so you can do X, Y, and Z apps. And whenever I have this conversation, not with all, but with many projects, it's like, hey, we can incubate some stuff. We have, obviously, a ton of the VCs. We can actually incubate some stuff on any L1. Can you just throw me out some, we call it requests for startups, right? We like the blockchain. We like the marketing of it. What kind of apps do you guys actually want that would differentiate yourselves against Ethereum? And a lot of the time we get silence. There
you go.
I'm thinking, then how did you even fund this L1 in the first place if you can't even explain why you're different besides we're faster, cheap? I'm like, sweet, to do what? Anyway, so that's 50%.
So they can raise money and and we'll leave it at that.
I'm not going to name names there, but that's 50% of them. But then another 50% of them are genuinely hey, we want to start building stuff. We don't have the rails. We don't know how to kingmake. So one of the core things we're kind of thinking is hey, if you've built your L1 and your ecosystem, you should probably know which apps to build. You can obviously have your grants and accept. That's all fine, right? But your number one priority as an L1 in the first year is to start kingmaking your own stuff because why the L1 is spun up. You know the apps. You probably know the founders. You know the tech exceptionally well. Go and bloody kingmake at least 3 to 4. If you look at Ethereum and Solana, they don't have that many apps over 1,000 users a day, right? Yeah. So it's not like you need to kingmake 20 of them. You need to kingmake 2 or 3 with ecosystem backing. So that's what gets us super excited right now, because there are a fair few ecosystems that are like, okay, we spent the last few years not doing much, but we've realized founder programs need to start really happening. So that's something we're excited about. So we're in discussions with a fair few of them. I'm like, let's just king make some stuff. Let's incubate. Let's get the ecosystem backing and doing that. So yeah,
I'm excited. Yeah, and that makes a lot of that's actually that's a good insight, because I think I've seen a lot of conversations out on the timeline, obviously, of like, if you look at the chains, like Base and Solana definitely are taking over on transactions. And if you really think about it, right, like Base, what took off? Well, it was first, I guess, Friendtech, and then later when Friendtech kind of fizzled out, then it was Farcaster. So it's kind of like that's where, and now they're like doing the whole Base app and all these things. And then I guess on Solana, it was frankly like Pumped Up Fun, right? Magic Eden, a bunch of these. That's a good point. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like what I'm also seeing is like a lot of conversation around, as you're saying, right? Like this transition from blockchains just kind of being like, support everyone and just build shit, to, as you're saying, concentrate your bets, king make, pick the top 2 or 3 bets that can really drum up attention and get people using this thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a proven, sorry to interrupt, like it's a kind of proven playbook in Web 2. It's called like X Prize, where it's, if you've heard of them.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of, if L1 has like a $10 million budget, they probably on like accelerators and stuff like that, it's like, okay, we'll do like 1 million, well, not even, it's actually very small. But instead of spreading, 10 million over like 20 random accelerators that do nothing, what if you just literally did, okay, take 15 million, out of the 10, take 8 million and do what you're currently doing. Take 2 and just tell the industry, if someone actually builds this app to a certain quality benchmark, that team just gets $2 million. Now then essentially everyone in the industry is like, holy shit, there's a $2 million bounty for X, Y, and Z L1. I'm like, dude, this stuff happens which is why like a lot of Web 2 marketers, founders kind of laugh at Web 2. I'm like, this is growth and foundership in easy mode, or growth in easy mode. I won't say founder, because being a founder in Web 3 is hard. But growing in Web 3, like a lot of the Web 2 guys are just laughing at us.
But then the retention is non-existent. Or like, it's like this and then.
It's a weird industry. It's a weird, we're in a weird space.
Yeah.
And that's honestly a lot of the advisory we do. It's all attention, customer acquisition is stupidly easy in Web3. It's all retention stuff we talk about.
And kind of going back to the partnership that you have with Legion now, I feel like, TGE was all over my timeline all the time, like throughout the last year. Now, out of a sudden, it's like Capital, Launchpad, Market, Skyto, Legion, all of this like community raises. Is this the new thing, or like what's going on, and why is this the new path that the brands are taking?
Do you want to take it, Jinelle, first, and I'll answer, or I'll do the fundraising question? I'll do the
He's on a roll. He's on a roll, folks.
I honestly just think it's how Web3 was supposed to be. So the whole point of Web3, obviously the ICO boom in 2017, the whole point of Web3 is to let everyone have access. And then we know what happened, a ton of booms and ton of busts where people just got scammed. You had a ton of snake oil salesmen come in. Retail didn't know any better. On one hand, I'm like, that's fine. That's just how investors are. You get scammed sometimes. Founders bullshit. So I'm like, on one hand, that's fine. So like, honestly, I would rather that. It's like, that's how humanity learns, right? Not trying to be cool. Then obviously what happened from a retail point of view, it's like, you know what? We're only going to invest if tier 1 VCs invest. So all of a sudden, founders are like, oh, wait, the only way we can actually get liquidity is if we first get VCs. Then VCs would then be like, sweet, we can introduce predatory terms. And then essentially retail, just like Web 2, only got in at IPO or TGE. So Web3 VCs use that to inflate massive FDVs. And then at TGE, retail became exit liquidity. So now we're moving to the other spectrum of like, wait, why don't we do both? Which is obviously why we wanted to partner with Legion, because like the whole point is like, it's not even anti-VCs. VCs are awesome. They give you awesome connections, right? So there's no issue there. It's just, you just don't want to be exit liquidity. So it's like, sweet. whatever your previous VC round is, community should also get in at the same terms as well. So I think, I don't know if that is going to be the long-term meta, but that's just something we're going to die on the hill over. So if that's not the case, sorry, go ahead.
And it makes so much sense intuitively, right? Like, especially when you spell it out like that, is that and I think that's where I really respect what you guys are doing, because there is clearly such a through line of like this true Web3 ethos of like, it should be open source. It should be open to the community. Like, these are the things that I think, at least for a lot of us, and it's partly what inspired us to also do like Mice in the way we did, right? Is like, those are the things that like make you feel like you're building something different and new, not just money. We all love price go up, sure, but it's like, how do we build a better internet? How do we allow, as capital formation to be more efficient? How do we allow marketing to be more efficient? How do we allow all these things to make the world a better place, honestly, which is kind of crazy to say, but yeah. So you guys are basically saints. No, I'm kidding.
We make money.
Exactly. Yeah. But you allow the community to also participate. That's key. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, I'm curious, with your guys' ethos and, sustainable growth and building out like products and stuff. What are your thoughts on Infofy and all of that stuff? Because it's a lot of talking and a lot of the times not enough doing. And it's kind of like, dust in your eyes.
A lot of yapping, one might say. Yeah.
Too much.
Yapping is not. I'll leave you that one and then I'll answer. I'll give my perspective.
No, so like Louis mentioned earlier, right? So if you look at the stakeholders in every ecosystem that everyone needs, there's 4: engagers, contributors, investors, ambassadors. And so your ECAIs and your Yappers and your Snappers and all of these people are vital, because they're the start of they're your top of funnel, right? Because they're your engagers. If you don't have them, people don't know there's no discovery for your product or platform or whatever it is. So you definitely need them. But what needs to happen then is they need to ladder up into past citizens, and then
it makes sense.
Yeah. No, definitely concur. It's essentially, you need all 4 of them. You need people engaging, you need people yapping. But the question is, are you only looking at it from a single lens, or like a proper Web2 lens or a proper founder lens? Like, you can like airdrops, like giving free chicken samples at Costco, they all work. But if your product sucks, that's on you. The tactic is actually amazing. It's just, okay, well, you just haven't figured out, well, when you get all this attention, well, what are you now going to do with it? Because the goal is like, I think if everyone, otherwise I'm going to go down a massive rabbit hole. Yappers are exceptionally important in the right context. People just don't know how to convert yappers into engagers, into contributors, into investors.
But do you feel like, could there be too much of it in a way where the attention is so fractionalized that, you stay at the yapper level forever and you kind of never go down the contribution and then the investor and then the engager part, because all you do is you just farm yaps?
Yes. So it's kind of like a multi-model. So there's going to be some people, like in every society, right? Not everyone's going to be a Michael Saylor that does everything. Some people are just blue-collar workers. Some people just like doing X, Y, and Z. So you don't want to just limit that as well. So it's definitely a fine balance. So ultimately, from an incentive point of view, if we look at the 4 buckets, you need your own linear funnel for engagers, right? Obviously, Kaido, Cookie are looking at that as well. It's like, wait, people are just using AI slop to kind of do that. So that's just something that's just going to get better and better and better to essentially identify. So I've at the moment it's an issue, but I think every week is actually getting better to the point. It's like, okay, we'll do that. So essentially, the way we kind of look at incentive structures is like, okay, as a yapper, you need your own bucket of rewards. As a contributor, whether it's like a technical developer or someone that writes how-to blogs and stuff like that, there's technical and non-technical contributors. They should have their own bucket. And then ambassadors, like you have your formal ambassador program, and then investors, people that buy the token, stake the token, LP and all of that kind of, that's a whole journey, right? Because you start off with investing, but then going through that own linear funnel is like, sweet, get them to LP, get them to stake over 2 years and stuff like that. But someone that does all 4 of those things are a unicorn. And that's what the Power Citizen model is, right? You don't want just a Michael Saylor yapping. You want the Michael Saylor that yaps, does this, does that. So all 4 of them have its own linear component, but if someone does all 4, that's like the power citizen model that we kind of want to promote more.
I like that. Yeah, because it's like anything else, right? It's like not everyone's going to do it well, frankly, right? It's that 80-20. It's like not all founders are going to be successful. Not all startups are going to be good. So I actually like put out an article just the other week about KOLs, right? Which is like KOLs are not inherently bad. They're not inherently, it's the same thing. It's just paid influencer marketing, right? But just like anything else, if you pick shitty influencers who are purely bot farms, that's kind of on you, right? And then as I think Louis has said, like you can use KOLs, but to what end, right? If you're just getting them to talk about your shit to pump a token with no product, then yeah, it's a rug pull and it's bad. But if you can direct a lot of attention to use a fun product that people actually want to use, that actually, product like growth, it kind of creates its own flywheel, then that's fine. But I think this speaks to a bigger issue within the industry right now of, number one, the products are just not quite up to par with what they should be. And then number two, I think the other thing that I think about a lot, and I think we're starting to see this change slowly but surely, is like the audience is too small, because as I think so many people are talking about nowadays, it's like we're just all yapping to the same 5,000 people, not even, within crypto Twitter, right? So how do we escape that bubble eventually, one step at a time? Yeah.
The market, the market is surprisingly exceptionally small in terms of if you're looking at actual users.
Yeah. So And by the way, I think we are coming up on time, so we won't have to wrap this up soon. But I would love to kind of zoom out and just kind of get your guys' hot take on like what are you guys excited about in the space, especially as we start to see, I think, something I've been thinking a lot about, and you see it on the timeline. I'm actually writing an article about that we'll put out very soon, but around this kind of TradFi mainstream moment, right? As institutions really start to come in. Wall Street's talking about Ethereum. We have banks actually starting to implement blockchain. I've always said like crypto is the financial use case of blockchain. It's the clearest PMF. It's where we start. Eventually, I think consumer blockchain will come to eat all the other stacks, but it's probably going to take a lot longer than we within our industry have it talking about. It might take 5-10 years longer to actually get to that point. But here's what you guys are most excited about, what you're seeing in the space, and kind of your overall thesis on all this when it comes to companies that you're looking at.
I'll give it to you, Jinelle.
Honestly, for me, eventually with AI and everything, the humanness in humanity will be gone. So I feel like our long-term vision is to bring that humanness back, and then we don't know how to do that yet. But then that's like a 10-year plan or whatever. Like, how do you have systems or apps or actual connections that promote human connection, and like how do you do that organically on chain? And then how do you build your own societies, your own groups, or whatever Balaji does, like network states? And how to
yes, is that the one with the fundraising announcement with the girl who's kickboxing?
5 million, and then that one.
Yeah. It's a huge market. Yeah, it's a huge market. Sorry, it's what you were talking about. Yeah, I love it.
So I think very similar from my point of view. Obviously, DeFi access, giving everyone accessibility is obviously super important. But the reason I got into Web3 is we're in the most technologically advanced time in human history, yet there's a misalignment there somewhere. I fundamentally believe right now crypto is solving a problem no one is really asking for at the moment. With DeFi, what I kind of think is in a world of infinite AI, you don't know what's real, what's not real, deepfakes and everything like that. That's actually the problem humanity faces right now. And that's essentially the forcing function to get every single human to go on chain. Because if you don't go on chain, you don't have proof of provenance. You don't know what's real and what's not real. So a lot of decentralized AI kind of stuff is the stuff we're actively looking at. Personalized recommendation engines in a world of infinite content. You need decentralized recommendation engines that you can choose, not centralized companies can control. So all of a sudden, everyone's on chain, your reputation's on chain. It's all hyper privatized as well. Using something like 10
I was
protocol.
about to say privacy is an important part of that.
Privacy is important as well. And now you have AI algorithms that you can choose that's private, trained on your own data, and can navigate this crazy AGI post AGI world. So that's the kind of stuff I'm personally bullish on, which is why we wanted to work with 10 as well, and a ton of apps in that space.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
personalized personalized dating, personalized anything on chain is something we're actively looking at.
I love it.
Awesome. I think we'll move into the rapid fire first.
Yeah.
Now.
We should.
Okay.
Definitely.
I'll go first. What's the most underrated marketing tactic you've seen in Web3 so far? Jinelle, you first.
You and me both. I get it.
Louis,
Founder-led marketing.
you?
I'll go left field. It's going to be the same answer for underrated and overrated. Airdrops. Every Web2 person that has heard this, they're like, you guys are imbeciles. If we had that in Web2, because they have retention figured out, right? They would be unicorns like in a day. We're like, you guys are like, they actually laugh at us. They're like, you have airdrops and you're screwing it up, right?
Yeah.
Get
You're
your attention.
literally giving people free money.
Yeah, and you're screwing it up. All you have to do is think about like retention for 10 minutes and you'll have a unicorn that's actually somewhat sustainable compared to what's out there right now. So yeah, that'll be the same answer.
You're asking for too much, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can make a dent there.
Jinelle, what do you think about the overrated one? Since Louis already mentioned.
Or infra.
Yeah. Too myopic.
Like you want to go?
Louis?
So overrated, airdrops again. So it's the same one.
Airdrops? All right.
Yeah.
People love it.
Yeah.
There's two more and then we'll wrap it up. I think Polina has a hard stop, but I also have a call in a bit as well. Which crypto brands and projects do you think are crushing it right now? Who are you most bullish on? Who are you most excited about?
If you knew the alpha that's coming out of
one of the ecosystems that you guys are working with.
There's definitely a few. We're actually super bullish on virtuals.
Nice.
But I think Legion, the alpha that's going to come out in the next month or so, is going to be mind melting. And I actually really like the Boundless team.
Yeah, they've been crushing it lately, and their raise was insane. Yeah,
70 million plus.
Crazy. Jinelle?
Yeah.
Privacy. Yeah. Charlie was on the pod. We talked about the tuk-tuks at DEF CON. I remember that was a fun one.
Yeah.
And Juan and the Eco team are crushing it. And they got Nil GPT that I think just went mobile, which is really cool. So bullish. Shout out to Nilian. And then the last thing, this is one of our favorite questions. Looking back at the past year or so, what is your biggest learning as a founder, like professional learning?
Professional learning? I think it probably applies to life, but I think a lot of founders, they find themselves like in a corner, just overwhelmed with bloody everything. If they just took a step back, they would realize, holy crap, they've got so much opportunity. And the example I give is VCs, right? It's like, wait, take a step back. Their job is to go after you. Stop running into predatory deals with VCs, exchanges, market makers, and stuff like that. Spend a bit of time, understand their business model, understand they need you, and now go into it. So I think take a breath. For myself, for Jinelle, I'm sure, but every founder we talk to.
Woosah. Yeah.
For me, I think it's
I like it. I love that. Those are two really good ones. Zoom out and separate your self-worth from what you're building. That's great. I keep saying it, but at some point, I maybe at the end of this year, I got to collect all these and put them all in a one list coming soon. Okay, we got to get running. But one last thing, where can people find you? What's the call to action? What should people do? Any alpha, anything's coming up that people should be keeping their eyes peeled for, and where can they find you?
Cool. Any founders, if they need resources, we're about to drop that. Keep saying it, but hopefully in 4 to 5 weeks, there'll be an open source library. We'll go live with a few L1s with it soon. And then if anyone's looking for an actual community round where community get the same terms as their previous VC round, we're always looking at cool projects to help community raises as well. So Twitter, Nozomi Network.
Nice. All right.
Awesome.
So with that, then I think we got to say thank you so much for popping on. Excited for all the big things you guys are cooking up. Excited for the collabs we'll be cooking up, and we'll see you guys in Asia very soon. Thanks so much, team.
Thanks, guys. See you around.
See you soon.
Ciao, ciao.
Hi, and welcome to Chain Reactions, a weekly live stream from MySynXYZ, the leading global marketing network, and hosted by yours truly, Blake, and my co-host, Polina. Tune in each week as we jam on the latest happenings in the wild and wonderful world of Web3. We're live on unlonely.app every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern, and release the pod every following week on Tuesdays. Now, let's talk Chain Reactions.